our revenue right now, we just closed out 2022 right about 6.12 million. And our goals, we have a little lofty goal is to close out 2023 to try to grow get to about 7.7, almost $8 million. So that's our goal.
Headed to the top, they ain't none of y'all stopping me. Used to say I never get a ring, Charles Barkley. Now I got a wife, got kids, on property. Bubble-eyed beans that look like that be watching me. Okay, I lied about the beans, but that was hard though. I'm still in that black act, but she starred though. Cause that's all it takes. I'm flashing for. I'm on my grind, not no more fashion show.
What's up, y'all? AJ Simmons here, Clean Biz Network founder, and I just wanted to tell you real quick before we jump into this interview that my phone actually died on me, right? So I recorded this interview on my phone, and it died on me when we were recording, so it's going to be a second part today. So even though this interview was long, but it was so good, I said, you know what, we got to break this into two parts. So just want to give y'all a heads up that's why it's going to be like an abrupt stop at the end, but definitely drop your comments below and let me know what questions you want me to ask Jason in part 2 of this interview that I'll be dropping soon, all right? Also, if you want to scatter those millions just like Jason was able to do, make sure you check out the Clean and Biz Automation course, all right? Go to cleanbiznetwork.com, scroll down, click on Clean and Biz Automation course, and I can show you exactly what we got going on in there and scale you to those $1 million levels, all right, y'all? Let's get it. AJ Simmons, founder of the Clean Biz Network, back with another great interview for you guys. And when I say great, I mean today is going to be an instant classic. I promise you that. So today, this guy right here, I originally met him in Chicago up at the original Cleaning and Cocktails event. He's on the board of directors of the BSCAI. He's the CEO of Lead Building Maintenance. So we're going to get into a lot of the other stuff he got going on too, but I'm just going to take it easy now in this intro. But please welcome Mr. Jason Lee, y'all. Mr. Jason Lee, what's going on, Jason? How you doing today?
There we go, AJ. Good, man. Call me Jason. Ain't no Mr. Nothing. I told you, I'm excited when you asked me to be a part of this. I'm excited to do this with you. So again, thanks for even asking me to do this.
Absolutely, bro. So if you don't mind, do you mind sharing about where you are as far as revenue goes for your company?
Our revenue right now, we just closed out 2022 right about 6.12 million. And our goals, we have a little lofty goal is to close out 2023 to try to grow get to about 7.7, almost $8 million. So that's our goal.
I told y'all, we got a big dog today. So,
oh man.
So, all right. So before we get into how you got to that point, though, now we can rewind. Let's just talk about, your background. Who is Jason Lee? Where you're from? All of that.
Well, man, my background. I'm gonna try to make this as fast as possible because I think if you'd know me, so I'm 46 years old, but I go back when I was 18. Wasn't doing the right thing. Fresh out of high school, ended up going to jail for selling drugs in the street. So my background started, I would say, in the hustle game, if anything. I was able to get a job working at Burger King because, as you know, with a felony on your record, there's not a lot of options we have to choose from. So Burger King was my opportunity. Worked my way from just being a regular employee to being a manager, and then after being a manager for a few years. How I got into the cleaning piece was I actually, don't get me wrong, my dad cleaned growing up a little bit. We had to go with him on odd jobs when he had to do construction work, and then he had an extra job. So I said cleaning was there, but it wasn't from a business perspective until Burger King days. The gentleman that cleaned our windows, one day after many years, I watched him, had time, I wasn't busy. And that's what got me going was I just asked him, man, how many different accounts do you have? And he said, I think we have a couple of hundred. And I just was like, man, I think I could do this. Went back to the admin machine in the office. At the time, the invoice was $68.25. And I times that by 50 at the time. And I was like, oh, man, I can go do this. And that's what got me going was, that's it. I went and started knocking on doors. I had after that happened, literally within 2 days, I had my first window client.
Gotcha. Okay. So now, according to my research, I think it was from LinkedIn probably, it looked like you started the company in 2015, correct?
So I'll give you kind of a quick background on that. Okay. So I've been in the industry. I started back in 2000 was when I first got my first window client.
Okay.
And then I didn't go full time into 2004. End of '04 into '05 was when I went full time. That's when I actually ran into a gentleman who's with the BSCAI, Building Service Contractors International. And it's so funny. He had talked to me about asking me how my company was doing, and man, did I have enough? How did I understand my profit? Did I understand workloading? And man, how do what's the productivity of your buildings? I'm like, man, and my inner man's telling me, oh, we got this, but my outer man's going, I don't know what he's talking about. So going to the BSCI, going to my first convention is when the game changed for me. So I had a partner from 2000. So I was on my own, doing my own, on my own. I had a partner from '08 to 2015. And then what ended up happening is I did have an ironclad partnership agreement. And then me and my partner, again, we just had two different business visions. And I ended up relaunching, starting all over again with Lead Building Maintenance in May of 2015.
Gotcha. So that kind of helps explain some of the questions that I'm about to ask, because I'm like, okay, you started in 2015, here we are 2023.
Yeah, how's that happen? You're right. So
that's crazy.
It wasn't like things just happened. It was a lot of behind the scenes work, but it was really from 2015 until now, it was a grind to get back some of the company and maintain the companies we had before to bring them on our side. Yeah. As well as growing new business.
Got you. Now, you said some interesting things, and whenever somebody says some interesting things, I got to deviate from those little template questions I had. So if you don't mind, I want to ask you this then. So, okay, you get locked up, you come home, you work at Burger King. Like, you know what? I can do this cleaner thing. This ain't too bad, right? So first I want to know, because I probably think a lot of people probably want to know this too, is did you have trouble finding clients while having that background?
No. I would say, I think the good thing for me is, and this is the reason why I had to be in business for myself, is because I felt my background was an issue when it came to me wanting a job. My biggest thing to me was, man, when I came home, I kind of tried to get involved in the community, do some different things. I helped create a whole new school program for like middle school boys. So I thought my trajectory, then I had some people who was helping me to say, hey, you know what? How about we get you in the school system? Which then if we get you in the school system as a substitute teacher, because you didn't need a degree for that, man, we can get the school to pay for your schooling. So then when you get your degree, you can do other things. So man, I had this thought process like, man, that's the thing to do. Well, just to come to find out that I did all this work, was out there volunteering and creating a program for young kids like myself. And then to realize that the person behind the desk at the school board told me they would not hire me because of my background. So that kicked me into gear. So to answer your question, I think that's something I never thought about. When I walked in, I was like everybody else. No one asked me about my felony. Now, where that has run into some issue for me is when we're trying to get secure clearances and things like that for other opportunities. But we're trying to create other partnerships that we can go that way. So again, I want to tell anybody who has a felony on their record, don't let that stop you. You got to go out there. You got to knock on the door. You got to go out there and present yourself like the best. But the biggest thing is you got to deliver the service.
Gotcha. And I'm so glad you were able to touch on that, because I get a lot of people asking me on my YouTube channel, AJ, well, can I do this? Because I got a felony on my record. And, right. I don't have one. Right. I think you can. I've helped people that had them. But you know what? I always like to ask those who know firsthand. You know what I mean? Can you do it? So obviously, y'all, it definitely can be done. And Mr. Jason is a testament to that. All right. So now let's jump into this, right? So 2015, you basically had to start over, right? Like, did you already have contract starting that in 2015?
So in 2015, what we were able to do is we had to work on solidifying some of our business we had before. So I had to work through a official kind of non-compete to kind of go back after. Yeah. So knowing that I had the support, and when I use support, I knew I was the one that did a lot of the work and had a lot of the relationships. Yeah. It was for me to go and knock and ask, could you guys come back on our side, which is all a process. It was all a process of counseling from one to come to the other. So that took a little bit, it took a moment. But we were able to solidify about 70% of the opportunity. And then from there, we kind of just grew it from there. So it was one of those scary times, because it's like anything else. You build it. We all get used to what we make within our opportunities. And then when you know that you got to kind of revamp and restart, and there's a process to this, it was like another scary moment of starting again, of, okay, man, I know I may be down what I'm making for the next few months or a year, but man, when I get back to this point, at least I want to build back up. So that was probably my scary point, but I knew there was no other way for me to start up and do it all over again. I had to go through the process.
Gotcha. And the reason why I brought that back up is because I know you wanted to make sure we understood that this wasn't no overnight success stuff, and that's why you made sure I understood.
No, I don't want somebody to go, man, from 25. No, this was some things we already had in place, and we just built upon them.
Right. But I do want to point out, though, it's different, running it by yourself versus having that partnership, and then it was still a restart nonetheless. I mean, you had a few connections from the previous, transition, but it was still starting over from what I would assume anyway. So okay, so good. So my question then is, was there anything, and I know this is a completely loaded question.
That's okay.
But was there a couple of things that maybe that you can just look back to and say, me doing these things helped me to build to this multi-million-dollar level, in such a short span of time?
Man, it's a good question. I would say that I use the word grind. And I hate to say that word so broadly, but AJ, I think this is probably my first year that I'm actually trying to look back and go, man, how did we do what we did? It's like anything else. When you're in the middle of a lot of this, it's tough for you to think, because sometimes we just react, we just do, or we were really good in an area where, man, we watched ourselves. In fact, we just last year we were Inc. 5. We made Inc. 5,000 last year.
Wow, congrats!
And that's saying that we grew north of $2 million in 3 years. So you got to realize. And so I kind of give you my sales trajectory. When May 15 to the end of 15, we closed out that year right around about $1 million or so.
Wow.
So you got to think, from May of 15, 16, 17, kind of had little growth. Then we had some great growth we grew from like 1.8 in 2019, 18. And then when we got to end of 2021, we had closed out 2021 right at about 2.6 million. So that was great growth. It was like a big growth span. So when you looked over at us hit 5,000, we had great growth in over a 3-year span. Now where things are is it's movement. It is now where I'm challenged, where I have to figure out how and where we've done well. And it's different when you kind of get to pull back when you have a team. I was blessed enough in August of 2020 to be able to get a great director of operations.
Nice.
And then I wasn't in the operations anymore, which then kind of gave me more opportunity to kind of look at sales with the entire company. But man, I tell you what, going through COVID and some other things, a lot of things just happened. And you just went to work. You had to figure it out. Now I'm just at a point where we're looking at how we did that. What was our scalability? How do we grow these next couple of years? And it's more strategic. I can't say that I was so super strategic then. It was just, man, we're going after work. Let's go get it. Yeah. And we were blessed enough that also it was a lot of word of mouth that came our way.
Gotcha. Now, you said something key here. You said you were blessed with a good operations manager. I wonder this, just selfish question now. This ain't even for the audience. So I imagine that the first key hire I would make would be a sales manager that just go recruit customers. I get customer acquisition basically and get that under control.
Right.
And then I'll kind of man operations until I can hire an operations person and then put that. Did you do the opposite order, or would you go that same route? Would you do the sales manager first, or would you go more operations first? Or could you bundle that both of those titles in kind of to one?
It's a good question. I would say I think each individual here, most folks that are going to start into this kind of business from scratch,
yes,
most of us are going to come from the operational side, because guess what we're doing? We're scratching and kicking to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the luxury of having a ton of cash to be able to hire folks, and then it happens.
Right.
So most of us, we come into this business as an operator.
Yep.
We come in, we grab an account, we operate the account. We get 2 more accounts, we clean the accounts. You know how that goes, man. You're balancing all the time. So but then there may be somebody who comes in that they're a great salesperson, or they have a sales mindset, and then operations they don't like, or it's not their strong suit. I think each individual owner and operator is going to have to figure out what their strong suit is. I'm being honest, I can't tell you my strong suit is sales, but at the end of the day, I'm learning so much more about, although I'm a great closer in sales, I might be a good salesperson, but I've also know that, man, when it comes to operations, man, I don't mind operations, because I came from an operational background, but I don't want to, I'm not saying I want to do operations. I just can't. It's just a nature of the beast. So I think as you grow your organization, what I've said is I think most of us, we created ourselves a job.
Yes.
And then when we get to a certain point, we got to realize that, man, all right, I'm either going to be really good at this because I got a certain amount of hours and I got to hire to my weakness, or man, I'm going to do this and hire, do my strength and hire, vice versa.
Right.
So I think you got to choose. You got to get to a point where where it is you got to do. For me, I just knew it was operational. I needed to hire an operational person.
Yeah.
And then the other hardest thing to do, because if you also have this more operational mindset,
mm-hmm.
get out of that person's way. And most of us, including myself, we want to be in the way of someone we put in that position. It doesn't make sense. I don't care for sales, get out of their way. Give them the tools they need to move.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And you know what? Now that I think about it, that makes perfect sense, because initially with my cleaning company, I did do operations first, so I can, because sales was easier for me, right? It was like I'd rather talk, I'd rather dress up, and close these deals. You know what I mean? So that actually makes sense. I think now the reason why I was looking at salesperson first is because I'm already running, Clean Biz Network, and I just don't have the time. You know what I mean? To sit and go to all these walkthroughs and put the proposal. So that's why. But I guess you're right. The way you have it set up and who you are pretty much as individually would determine which order you had it in. So appreciate that. Now I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna lower the conversation level just a little bit for my audience here, and I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to the basics. All right. So let's just start off and let's get to some industry questions. Let's talk about how you originally started finding customers, and then is that still your best method, or do you do a different method now?
I guess when we first started going after customers,
mm-hmm.
I was trying to clean anything moving.
Yeah.
If I can get in there and clean it, I need to get money. So it wasn't a sole thought process of if I was going to do it. It is, I'm taking anything that I could go do. My approach to that was I didn't do any campaigns or anything like that. My approach I've learned was always just word of mouth. I remember my first organization I joined was our local chamber.
Yes.
And I remember joining it and, saying things like you go to a business card exchange and you talk to some people, and man, before you knew it, you're like, okay, some people call me back and they want me to come clean their office every other week and sometimes once a month and blah, blah, blah. And you took it. You took what was walking. As your company grows, you will also see that your ideal customer changes.
Yes.
Because you're also going to know that also from a labor perspective, or what you see as more profitable, what you see that your company kind of rhythm of what they like to do and how they do it, you're going to identify what your ideal customer is. So that also changes how you maybe network or who you want to talk to, because now there's nothing wrong with chamber events or those things like that. But then as you grow, you look at things differently. You now look at things of how can we sponsor an event? Because now I want to talk to the decision makers,
right,
more than I'm just somewhere where somebody's done sent their salespeople to.
right.
And I think that's why it was important to join those kind of events. But then those kind of organizations like chambers, and I use BNI, but I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan of that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just wasn't for me. You fast forward now, it was about also me connecting to the community. So I was always, one of the big things for me is always being a part of a board or a community where what's my passions, what drives me. So what always drives us is, definitely kids, anything we can help with children.
Yeah.
What's also going to drive me is health, the health of our communities and how we do. You know what I mean? My wife is big in arts, so she likes arts things. I love business, so I want to be anything business, banking, things like that. So what ends up happening is these organizations or these corporations have boards of directors.
Mm.
And who the board of directors are, the people who are the fiduciaries of these organizations, man, that's where the decision makers are.
Yeah.
And if you can get to those positions, be it a board member, you get to shake hands, kiss babies with the folks who are decision makers. And they also have a network of people they can introduce you to. So again, it's getting involved in your community. And it's not doing it because of business. It's just doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
I've always said this, from joining any Rotary clubs or anything like that. If you go in with the intent to be involved and help that organization grow, your blessings will come on the other end. It will come to you if you're the person that's not just going in and treating us like a business card chain, like, hey, AJ, here's my card, call me. No, get to know who AJ is, understand who he is. How can you help AJ in his endeavors? How can you help AJ in this organization grow? What is AJ's passion? What does he like to give to? When people start to see that you care about them, it's not about, I need to go over and get this business. They will come to you and say, man, I like this guy. And by the way, what does he do? He cleans? Oh, wow. That's the piece that I tell everybody. That's sales to me. I'm not someone that's going to walk in a room and just be like, hey, AJ, what's going on, man? Can I clean your building?
Right.
Again, that may work for somebody else. That's not my personality.
I love that. And you know what? Before I left Virginia, I was on one board, and I was also volunteering a lot. My wife was on a board, and we pretty much made a name for ourselves in that city before we moved from Virginia down here to Florida. And I just want to put this out there too, because I think some people might watch this video and let that fly over their head. But I promise you, don't do it, because I used to think that because I wasn't making a certain amount that I wasn't qualified to be on these boards. But I can tell you what I did was, I knew I might not have had the pocketbook to contribute to these nonprofits the way that I would like to, but I had to work ethic. So I would make sure, I would utilize my strengths. So some of them needed updated websites. I know how to build websites. So I would make myself useful in that department. Or I knew how to reach a particular audience in the city that the elders couldn't reach. So I would use myself, you know what I mean, in that aspect. So definitely do exactly what Jason's saying. Try to get on some of these boards, volunteer in the city for sure. And I just wanted to.
And it's not about the money. It is, when I say what these organizations may be looking for, because use the key word. The words I always use if I sit with anybody and talk to them about being a board of director or a potential volunteer, is it's a give or get. So it doesn't mean that you have to personally have X, Y, Z to do this, but man, can you go out and raise money? Can you, through your network, go out and ask 10 people for $50 to get you to 500? You know what I'm saying? Like, just using that example. Hey, it's $5,000. Man, that's a lot of money. Man, can you go find 5 people that give $1,000? It's the give or get. But the thing about it is just putting yourself in that position to be around folks who are at that next level of decision making.
That's gems, y'all. Y'all better pick them up. You dropping them. All right, now, can you remember how you learned how to actually bid on commercial cleaning jobs?
I remember for me, my first ever, if I did, like I told you, started doing windows.
Yeah.
It was always about time and my time. And at that time, this was back in 2000 or whatever. My goal then was I knew personally, if I'm doing something, I want to at least make $30 an hour.
Yeah.
And that's all changed now because bidding and everything now, it's totally different. Where I got a better understanding was through the BSCAI. So the BSCAI offers a bidding and estimating seminar,
Okay.
Which I would highly recommend everyone to go through. And it kind of gives you understanding of how to bid buildings. I remember at one time I used to think, man, how come I'm going to bid this building and I'm not winning?
Right.
And I try to ask and follow up, and man, my numbers were like way high. And I was like, dang, man, why am I so high? If I remember going to the bidding and estimating seminar to BSCI, I realized that the way I used to bid, I'm talking about back in the day starting out, I'm trying to bid as if I'm every worker.
Right.
And that is not a reality. There's a reality to production. There's a reality to your workloading of your buildings. And you got to understand that, man, there's an hourly rate that happens to most of our hourly staff that are out there that you're not going to pay that person to go out and clean and vacuuming in the office space $45 an hour because that's not competitive against who you're bidding against. As much as we want to give it to them, the reality is it's whatever our market is and our wage market is that we have to have that productivity. Now it becomes about equipment, processes, that how can we speed this up that we can say, the difference in a bigger facility, let's say a facility, and I don't want to talk high over anybody's head here, but I want to give perspective. So I'll start with a 5,000 square foot space.
Mm-hmm.
How we clean a 5,000 square foot space and we bid at it is different than you clean a 500,000 size square foot space.
Yes.
And within those things are equipment, supplies that, again, where most of us will always say, man, how come we're not winning this? Well, because most of us got to look at investment differently. We got to look at, man, this backpack or take a regular backpack vacuum versus a battery backpack vacuum. And some people go, man, let's just say this one costs $350 and this one costs $900. Well, man, I don't want to pay this difference of $600, but let me tell you what this $600 does for you.
Right.
So it's understanding those things, and when you learn them and how to be competitive, because that's the biggest thing is it's being competitive. Is that when I put my bid in, I want to have a chance to win, and you got to know that. So I hope I didn't go around, but I just think everyone's going to have their unique way of how they run their buildings. Everybody's going to have a different production rate. Your company might be great in Class A space, and you can knock them out in 7,000 square feet an hour. Another company might be, but you got to realize, man, if AJ can do it at 7,000 square feet an hour and he's winning them, he has quality, he's doing well, why can't I?
Right.
You can't just keep going. We can't do it. No, we got to figure out how he's doing it.
That's right.
I think most of us don't do the research or understand the investment it takes to get there.
For sure, man. Rewind this interview, dog. If you heard what he just said, please rewind it and re-listen to that, because that's what I don't want to keep expounding on every little thing you say, but
That's
man,
good.
I agree 100%. That's all I will say. All right. Now, speaking of the bidding, real quick, I want to throw this in there too. So are you at liberty to share this? Up in Maryland, about what are you guys able to get away with charging per hour anyway to the customer? What would you say about right now?
We mean charging the customer, like what's an hourly rate?
Yes.
Man, that's a loaded question. This is what I would tell you. In Maryland right now, our minimum wage just went to, and this my part I'm in.
Okay.
There's other sections in Maryland and counties that have adopted higher wage rates.
Gotcha.
So in the Maryland marketplace, we're $13.25 an hour.
Gotcha.
That's base. That's minimum. I mean, that's the price of admission.
Right.
Now you have other areas that are already at 14. You have other areas that are at 15 already in Maryland. Right. So it just depends on where you're bidding that in. And then I think, I always say this, the loaded rate of how you do everything, it's all going to be based upon, I always say these things. It's our cost of insurance. It's our cost of what chemicals cost us. At the end of the day, I call it the juices.
Yes.
The juices might, let's just say a box of juice cost you $30. Well, if I can find the cost of juice to get it at $15, I can beat you there. There's all kind of things that when you look at bidding and how you load a rate, what you pay for a vacuum versus what I pay for a vacuum. All those things, how much time, like all those things come into a loaded rate. And I think every owner has got to know that. You got to start to look at every little cost. And I think you also got to look at your competitors. And you really got to understand, I think the biggest thing is time is money. It's our productivity. It's how fast can we clean? And it will always be different. How fast can I clean if you're in healthcare? How fast can I clean office space? How fast can I clean manufacturing, life science, whatever it is? How fast can I clean those things against my competitor? And that's what you're going to see the game change, because, man, a difference of 500 or 250 square feet an hour times X amount of space times 5 days a week times 52 weeks. Yeah. When you add those numbers up, you'd be surprised the difference of how much that is. Yeah. And I know everything's not based on price, and I don't go in saying, oh, I don't want to be the cheapest. But don't get that confused with not being the cheapest and not being uninformed.
Right.
No, you got to understand your market, understand what you can deliver, understand your service delivery. And I think when companies really can dive in there and understand it, man, I can go in this building and I guarantee you, we can come in here and knock this building at an X square foot rate. This is my return on investment. When you really get good, I'm being very good today, but it's like the game. It's like the street game. If I want to know what the street game is, I better understand every aspect of the street game.
For sure.
This is no different than this business. And most of us don't put that work in to understand that this is a viable business. But those few things there, productivity, making sure we don't have any insurance claims, making sure we get the best deal on our products, the right products, not getting the cheapest products, get the right products. All those things are dollars and cents to the bottom line.
Let's go. So it sounds like we all probably need to check out that BSCAI bidding training, apparently. And,
I think it'd be great if you can do it.
So speaking of it, because we mentioned it a couple of times, BSCAI, just go ahead and let's skip ahead and break that down for a minute. What is it, BSCAI? Who is it for? All of that.
Okay. So BSCAI, those acronyms, BSCAI stands for Building Service Contractors Association International. Okay. Again, I did not know what it was at all until I had a gentleman who, I bless him, Mr. Leroy Dock, who sat down with me and said, hey, man, you ought to check this out. And I didn't realize he too was running a big operation. At the time, I think their operation was north of $80 million a year. And I remember I was just like, oh my God, I better figure this out. So
we got to repeat that. He said 80 million, and we talking about the same industry.
Same industry.
Wow. See, they don't believe me. I just wanted them. Maybe they believe you. People don't believe me as money. And
this is what I like about the BSCAI. The BSCAI, it's put on by contractors like me and you. I always say it's like the FUBU brand, for us, by us. So the BSCAI is all about us as contractors helping teach other contractors. And so they're headquartered out in Chicago, is like where the association is. But we'll go to different industries. So there's really 3 big events that happen every year. Mm-hmm. So next week, as we're doing this, next week we will have our CEO conference in the Bahamas. Okay. And then in April of this year, we will be in Arizona for our executive management seminar. So the executive management will be anybody who's an executive person on your team. You can bring them as well. They'll have some nice, also high level stuff for them. At the end of the year, we do the big trade show. This is where they coincide with the ISSA together. But the BSCI has their own seminars, but we use the ISSA's trade show. That this year we'll be back in Vegas in November. And then it usually flip-flops, Vegas, Chicago. And then those executive ones can switch around. The CEO switches around. So again, great information. You have companies, I would tell you this, you have companies that are as small as people who are just starting to companies that are $1 billion.
Right.
And you get to, it's like anything else. You get to go and hear, talk, network, mingle. And it's like anything else. I get to go talk to somebody whose company is at 50 million. I can go talk to somebody. I got plenty of friends now in the industry that, man, they're not my money. They're not my backyard. I can go visit with them. I can ask them questions. They're willing to share information with me. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Okay. I love it, man. I love it. I appreciate you putting that word out there for us, because, a lot of us just get into the industry and don't really educate ourselves about the different organizations and stuff out there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now,
in their site, just so everybody knows, BSCAI.org. And again,
okay.
I don't get paid anything to do this. I just know it's paid me well to be a part of this organization.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm able to talk to you now and give you this stuff because of the BSCAI.
Yeah, listen, and I'm glad you pointed that out too, because people are skeptical. They're gonna be like,
"Oh,
he's just trying to tell us."
They do not. They don't pay me to do. They don't pay me to do anything.
There you go.
It's something that this is something that, again, someone who was a contractor told me about. I went to, and I'm the byproduct of this.
Perfect. I love it, man. Now, I noticed your name is Lee Building Maintenance, right? Your company's name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not janitorial, it's not cleaning. So I would assume you went into this knowing that you're going to be offering pretty much building services as a whole, not just one niche. So how would somebody, because my channel is really more about just commercial cleaning and cleaning in general, how would somebody go about expanding into these different niches? What would be your advice on doing that?
I think it's going to be customer led in some ways. I think when you meet with the customer and you start to figure out things that you do well, service delivery, I think it goes into it. You start out in cleaning, and then before you know it, someone's asking you, "Hey, can you change light bulbs?"
Yeah,
sure, we can do that. Hey, can you go out here and do some painting of the parking lot? Sure, we can do that. And then there's things that you can do yourself if you want to build a maintenance team. There's other things that you can outsource, but you're the person. The whole goal in any facility that you work with is you want them to be the one-stop shop for you.
Yes.
You want to be able to have your customer lock in on multiple places so that if they ever want to think about getting rid of your janitorial, they go, man, you know what? This person's also handling our landscaping. This person's also doing this. You look at an ABM, which is probably one of the biggest companies in the world right now.
Yeah.
Their tentacles are in everything, but they've also done that well over many years.
Yeah.
But they also were that one-stop shop that they figured out ways and pockets to make money. So that's why I went with that, because I wouldn't be, it throws some people off because people go, they don't know how to approach sometimes, which is funny. They'll go, man, I see you're building maintenance. So are you in construction? Are you maintenance? Like, no, we're in the maintenance. I look at the maintenance as something that we're doing all the time, reoccurring. Mm-hmm. We're in the building maintenance. We do facilities, but our core business is janitorial. I always say that. Oh, okay. And then, so I would say, just as an owner, you just want to be able to make sure whatever you want to bite off, how does it make sense with your core business plan? You just don't want to all of a sudden just be doing things and you're losing money. No, when you look at it, go, man, we can do this service. Well, how do we do the service? I always say there's only a couple of ways you can do things. We either buy it. When I say buy it means it is ours. We own it. We have staff people that do it. They are our staff. Mm-hmm. Or you lease it. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is I'm subcontracting it out. I'm figuring out how the ways to do those things. So in anything you approach, look at it and do we own this, or are we leasing this opportunity? And if I do lease it out, can I make money? How much control do I have of it? Versus when you own it, you have a whole lot more control.
Gotcha. So perfect segue for my next question, because people always ask me, AJ, should I do all contractors and sub everything out? Should I do W-2 employees? If I had to guess, it sounds like you got your hand a little bit of both. So I want to hear your opinion. Like, is there one over the other that you recommend?
I would say, from our perspective, I'd lean more to everyone being a W-2 employee. That's just our model. I mean, trust me, I've talked to a lot of people. I think it's dangerous when you start to get into 1099s, but people aren't, how do I say this? We can get very good and casual with paying people under the table.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you look at it, you could only pay somebody up to $600 one time a year. And then anything above that $601, the IRS could come and say, that person should be an employee of yours. Why aren't you paying for their insurance, for blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's a slippery slope. So I've always erred on anybody who's in our company, you will be a W-2. If I know you have a company, you have insurance, you have other contracts outside of us, then I know you can be a subcontractor of mine. And usually it's in another it's not in like what we do day to day. It's mainly if I have a window cleaner contractor. I also sometimes, I mean, although we have our own in-house floor team, I also sub out floor work as well to companies I know that's what they do.
Right.
You know, so again, landscaping, same those things. We don't need that in-house, but those things that we can do that we know a company does landscaping and all those, man, I can work with you. I can contract you out 1099. The biggest thing here is just understanding what the IRS has and or what your state law is.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's got to understand that. There's a lot of companies that do a lot of 1099s. And I always say, man, you got to be careful of that, because you got to understand how your shop is set up. What's your liabilities? If something goes wrong, you better know what's going on. And especially from a tax perspective, golly, if I don't say anything, everybody, please check your taxes.
Got you. Okay, man. Look, now I gotta ask that then. So how would you recommend we go about finding a good tax preparer or CPA? What would be your advice in that department?
I think you got to find somebody who's reputable. What I mean by that is, I think don't go get Pookie and them or Johnny and them's, person around the corner. I'll be honest, I've been there. I was there. Just man, if I can come close to the screen and tell you anybody, don't do it. It will cost you hundreds of thousands later.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that again. Don't do it. It will cost you hundreds of thousands later.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody reputable. Go to a chamber event or find somebody that you know has a CPA firm. Sit down with them, talk with them, understand what your state tax laws are. And hopefully they understand outside also what the Fed laws are. Ask them questions. Tell them what you want to do. Tell them how you want to. Their job is to keep us as business owners out of prison and paying high tax. But we also got to guide them and tell them on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to actually achieve, and let them help us along the way. I think it's far too many of us just put the hands in somebody's hands and go, here, I need you to go I just need you to help me. But we don't go do our own research enough to go, man, you know what? I read up on this. Man, how can I do this? And again, forget your politics. I don't care how you like Trump or didn't like Trump, or if you didn't like Biden or whoever else you didn't like.
Yeah.
Those guys and gals at that level understand tax law.
Yeah.
So some of the things that the average people say, oh, well, why are they doing that? Because they can. There's a law that allows them to do that. You just got to figure out how the law can work for you.
Yeah.
So much we get caught into this whole, most of us that transition into this business and entrepreneurial world, we coming from a working world. We're coming from a W-2. And we come off a W-2, different world. When you come into this world of a 1040 and you're self-employed and it's a whole different tax world. So guess what we got to do? Educate yourself on that. Understand that what things can you write off? What things can't you write off? What makes sense? Man, I don't think you can go out here and give away the whole kitchen sink and this because you used to get this big return. No, understand. Because here's what I tell you what's going to happen. If you start to write off everything because you think you get a big return, well, the time your business starts making money and you want to go get a loan from a bank, the bank's going to look at you going, man, you didn't make no money all these years. And you're going, well, no, I did. Well, no, you didn't because you're taxed. Oh, man. Yeah, the banks will not lend you money because they're going to say you didn't make money. Understand it's a catch in everything. Go do your research. Understand that one day as you grow your business, you will need capital. You're going to need money. You're going to need a line of credit. So we can't just go ahead and write off everything. So understand taxes. So I'm just saying, go get somebody reputable. This is what I have learned. Pay good money for something that you want. Same way with if you want to hire somebody. Man, stop being cheap.
Right.
If you want a result,
pay
somebody good money, but expect the result.
That's it.
And I think it's the same thing in this. Go find somebody reputable that's going to help you in the future pay less tax or understand tax burden, but also make you wealthier along the way.
Bars. Bars, man. Love it.
You won't get, man, we won't get wealthy. You won't get wealthy with that. I'm telling you, you won't get wealthy with advice that everybody that I'm trying to get out of saying the hood. You will not get advice from people who don't know what they're doing.
That's it.
They just shucking and jiving and pushing paper. Yep. You want to get with somebody that's going to say, man, you know what? This is my financial goal. This is where I want to get to. My business producing X. How do I keep this? Mm-hmm. Well, man, AJ or Jason, this is your plan. Perfect. Work the plan. If that person doesn't get there, get somebody else. You got to figure it out. Same thing with an attorney. It's no difference. If you want an attorney to ask you things, go find an attorney that, man, is going to like you, is going to understand what you want to do, and is going to help you produce a result.
Absolutely, man. I love it. And before we jump in this lightning round, because I'm gonna flip it around a little bit.
Good. You're good.
I got one interesting question I wanted to ask you, and this was fun to me because I remember when I first met you, right, in Chicago, and I had the audacity because you met me and we introduced ourselves. And actually, I think Ricky actually personally walked me over to you and said I needed to know you. And I'm glad he did. So thank you, Ricky, for that regalado.
Ricky.
And so when I spoke to you, I had no idea who you were, what your background was, anything. And so I had the audacity during the conversation at some point to ask you, well, okay, well, where you at roughly, as far as revenue? And you told me what it was, and I was like blown away because I'm like, wait a minute, why the hell does he know who I am? I'm like, why do you even know who I am or what? So I just got to ask out of curiosity, how did you come across me? Did you know me before Ricky's event? And why do you even like me? Because a lot of, the vets, they don't like a guy like me. They feel like, who is he to be helping people and teaching people? And, he didn't make X amount of dollars yet. So I would love to be here out of curiosity, man. What made you even fond of me?
Wow. Well, funniest thing is I happened to stumble upon your site one time. It was on YouTube or whatever. I just remember seeing you a few times. I was like, oh man, this dude's the real deal. Like, I like the way that you approach this. Yeah. You're approaching it that the average person coming into this piece, this industry, if they just listen and follow, because again, they got to go do the work, that you're showing them. And here's the thing, I think, and I've told you this after that, was you were able to do something that I wish I would like to do. I want to be at a point where I can tell to people, and I do. I mean, I do it a lot more. I just didn't take it to the internet as you have. I mean, you've taken it and so that intrigued me. So when I saw you come in, I saw the logo. I was like, oh man, that's the dude right there. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to go meet you. I think it's like anything else. It's not about, you said something about the vets. You think the vets in the business don't like how you do it. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I just think you are unique in how you do, how your approach is. And how old are you now?
I'm 35. So actually, I'll be 35 in April. I'm ahead of myself.
All right, so think about this, 35 in April. When did you start this thing?
Ooh, all right. So originally I started at 19 years old, but that was 2008.
But I guess when did you start going live on?
So 2014.
Okay, so man, so back in 2014, what you were 20 what?
25 or 6, maybe somewhere around there.
So think about this. You're 25 AJ and you're 35 AJ. Are y'all two different people?
Completely. Yeah.
Perfect. So and guess what, AJ? your 45 you and your 35 you are going to be different.
Right.
I'm saying that to say this. When I saw you, I was like, man, this the cat that got the juice right now. I like what you're doing. Doesn't matter about where you are in business. The respect level to me, and I'm not somebody who money's money. I hate to say it like that. It is getting around people and being humble enough to know that I can learn. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you just started yesterday or if you're doing $1 billion. I can learn from everybody. And I think when you have that mentality of being humble, you just come into the room, you be who you are, things are going to happen for you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying this to say for you is I like what you're doing. And I think as you continue to grow, your message will be different. The people who will follow you will eventually be different. There's a lot of people we left behind, but we didn't just leave them behind. They had the same opportunity me and you both had.
That's right.
It's just their path might went a different way. All you're able to do is put these gold nuggets out there. If people catch on, they want to catch on, great. If not, great. The world
Right.
goes on. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I look at this not a competition thing. It's just we're out here to do our thing. God gave us all different lanes. I think what really gets good is that when we're able to, the monies that come in behind the scenes are able to do the things we can do in our community. It's able to do what you do here. That things can happen, and they can happen at a bigger level the better we get at this. So, I'm just saying to you, man, I was a fan. And I was a fan. I was like, man, like you probably was feeling like, it's almost like the way you made this analogy was almost like, let's use in our world.
Okay.
In our hip hop world. Man, I'm trying to think of a young fella. Give me a young fella rapper.
Okay. Let's see, because I'm kind of old now too.
But give me a young fella.
Okay, let's just say, is 50 Cent young enough for you, or should I go low younger?
Oh, matter of fact, let's keep him at the older. Let's keep him at the older. Give me a younger fella.
Okay, so a younger than 50. All right.
Yeah.
Lil Baby.
All right, so good. So let's take away Lil Baby. Let's take away their monies. Okay. Let's take away their age and who they are. It was like I ran to Lil Baby, and you probably ran into 50, and and I'm sitting there going, man, 50 wants to know Lil Baby because he wants to understand, man, how you do this? Look how fast you happen to do X. So I think what I hope everybody understands is, as you're looking at this interview from our cultural world, is although me and AJ met, it wasn't about where we were. It was that we were intrigued to know each other. How could we grow each other? What can I learn from him? What can he learn from me? I can give him gold nuggets. He can give me gold nuggets. So I want you to understand that, man, you don't ever put yourself down. I like and people always tell me, Jay, I like the humble part. But man, you know what's so funny? We were both eager to meet each other, to understand what it is that we do and how we do it. And I tell you, I admire you for what you're doing, man. I've spent a little time, even over the last few weeks, just kind of looking and going, man, you know what? Wow, look at this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's more behind the CBN than most people can realize. And I hope you push it to the next level, because I say this to a lot of young fellas. You have the juice.
Yeah.
You know what that means? You got the juice. It is now what you do with the juice that just takes this thing to a different level.
Man, I'm gonna replay that little segment right there. Look, as we elevate, I'm gonna replay. Hey, Jason told me I had the juice, y'all.
You got the juice.
Appreciate that, bro. So, man, that's good. That's great right there. All right. So I'm gonna do the lightning round now. That's what we can switch it up a bit, get everybody off the seat a little bit. So the way it works is I say a word or a phrase. You just tell me basically the first thing that comes to mind. So you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. First phrase or word is Frederick, Maryland.
Growing little town.
Okay. All right. The DMV.
Wow. What comes to mind? Good Lord. Complex, but simple.
Yeah.
Because of politics here. It's home of Washington, D.C. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Entrepreneurship.
Wow. Journey.
Yeah. The cleaning business.
Man, broad and big.
Absolutely. Key to success.
Always stay coachable and give back from the heart, and you'll be blessed immensely.
Absolutely. 100%.
I know it's not lightning round fast question or one word, but anyway.
No, you good, because trust me, I've had people that gave a whole paragraph for everyone. I wanted some more flowers here, but I think you already did it. But the next one was AJ Simmons. So,
man, I say the guy who has the juice. I mean, I think right now when I say the juice, you have the person coming in who wants to get a business going, and again, cleaning is a commodity right now.
Yeah.
And anybody and everybody can get into this thing. You are dropping nuggets of how to get people from one level, not all the way to the top, because you got to work that, but you're showing them how to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And I think you're somebody out there in this cleaning world that you got the juice, man. You got a little force behind you.
I appreciate you. All right.
Yeah.
The next one is social media.
Man, I'm probably somebody who's not on it as much as I should be. But what I do know is it can be an equalizer, or it can be a detriment.
I love that. And I want to make sure I ask that one, because when I tried to do my research for the interview, I noticed it was kind of hard to find you, harder than some others. And I hate it.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Let's talk about it, because me personally, I hate social media, but I see I have to do it because of the way I structure my company. So I would love to hear your take on that a little deeper.
Yeah, I'm a kind of person where I'm old school, man. I hate to say that, and I ain't old, but I'm old. I guess I'm old school. I was probably caught. My age bracket was probably caught right in where this thing was like happening.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, what I realized is, from a social media perspective, what I need to look at now where I am is, how do I become a thought leader like you? You would be considered what we call a thought leader. I'm also trying to carve that out myself, that I know I have what it takes and I know what to do.
Absolutely.
It's just me being able to take the time to carve out, to be able to have a machine and a process to make it work. But social media to me is, man, I remember when Facebook came out and all that stuff. Man, if you look at Facebook the way it is now, golly, it's all about people's personal, and it's about self.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm not that person, man. I'm like, to me, I know a lot of people and I do a lot of things, but those things are my things.
Right.
Because it could be a detriment. If I put on everything I did on social media, I think people will go, does he ever work?
Right.
Or it could be a jealousy thing. Man,
Yep.
Are we paying him too much money? Man, he's over here golfing here. He's doing that.
Yep.
Man, to me, I only put posts up of things that make sense. And I told my daughters, 3 girls, and I let them know, man, if you look at social media posts now, we're numb to them.
Yeah.
So I've always said, if I'm ever posting something, people are going to probably take my stuff more seriously, because Jason don't post nothing. So if I put something in ever so often, man, this means something. But again, I'm not. There's also a business to this thing too. But I don't. In our world, I think it's really thought leadership, because I don't see, at least the customers I'm looking for going after, they're not going after my Facebook page to see what I'm doing. If anything, if they want to look it up, they're going to wonder, what the heck do I do? So the more I look like I'm not all over the place and I ain't in everybody's business, that's not me. Yeah. So that makes me, I feel professional. Or my LinkedIn page, what am I putting on there? Man, hopefully it's just business relevant stuff, or I'm sharing something that I think is relevant. Instagram, golly, I don't even know where to start there. I don't even, you know what I mean? It's got to be something that's relevant. So me in that world, that's why I said it'd be neat to talk with you more on that end.
Yeah.
So I can understand balance. But, we're in a whole piece of rebranding, remarketing our stuff now.
Yeah.
And, I got some folks in my ear just about being a thought leader.
Yeah.
Especially being a person of color, yeah, who we don't get to most of these high level opportunities.
Yep.
There's a lot of other folks that want to know more from me and how I did X, or what is it like to be here. And so those are the things I would say I want to work on as well. So it's a good question. I think social media, I think if you ask my kids that question, they'll give you a whole different answer because they grew, that's their world, man. Like everything evolves around this. Like, yeah. And to me, I like this, but my kids ask me, like for me, when I first got one of these, it was $1.35 a minute to make a phone call.
Right.
So it's free now. So when people talk about text what? No, call my black tail. Excuse my language. Call me. You know what I'm saying? Call me. Don't text me. In our even and I say this as well in workplace. We can get so casual with texting, but there's some big decisions that get made over text messages between managers and staff, employees.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, why didn't you just call that person so they understand your sense stress, what you're trying to communicate, and what you want them to do, versus a text message? I can go, oh, man, AJ, okay, he just wanted me. No, they can come back and go, AJ, I thought you told me if I get to it, I get to it.
Right.
No, pick up the phone and say, listen, can you do me a favor? Man, down the hallway, here, I need you to do this.
Right.
Versus, and then the person don't even get it. Oh, I thought you said that.
Right.
To me, when we get away from that, and it's a service, again, that used to cost a ton of money, it's not. I like personal interaction.
Yeah.
And I think we have gotten away from that. And I think in the business world, I think people, when COVID hit and everybody went to this whole like, hey, stay away from me, we got more digital.
Yeah.
I think people want to connect and they want to know how authentic you are.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is not through texting somebody or just looking at your post. It's how can I get with this person or really get to understand who they are. And I think those build bonds, that build strong relationships, which in turn, if you think about from a business perspective, in our business, from the reoccurring aspect of how we get paid, man, you can get money for a while if you build these relationships. And I think that's so important, and we discount that. We just think we hand a flyer or a thing, it's going to work. And why doesn't it work? Because it's not authentic. It's just paper. The paper is just one thing. The business card is one thing. They want to know more about you and what you've been able to get your team to do for them that works. So, yeah, I think that's a whole great subject, man. I think we can spend the whole, because I like to be in that class and learn more about social media.
Absolutely. And we definitely talk more about it and how you can kind of, rebrand or leverage or whatever you want to do. But we definitely talk, and hopefully I can help in that area. And I agree 100% too. I hate to piggyback, but matter of fact, how are you on time, by the way?
I'm fine. I'm good. Right now. I'm literally good for another half hour.
Perfect. We'll do about that, and then we'll probably, if we got to cut it in two, we'll cut it in two. All right, bet. So, but one thing I was thinking when you said that's 100%. Like, my biggest thing right now, I know for a fact I'm underachieving. I mean, even amongst the achievements that I'm making, but I know for a fact I am. But the biggest part is because of that. I love to hide behind a text or email or social media, right? I don't really like to. I've always was naturally an introvert. I got a lot better. So if you meet me now, you can't tell, right, that I'm an introvert. No. But if I had a choice, I want to hide. I want to hide, and so I have to practice getting better at it because I missed out on a lot of opportunities being it. As a matter of fact, that's probably the reason why it took me so long to reconnect with you, just hiding in my little bubble here. So, but yeah, man, I think it's great points that you made on that.
Thank you. So, thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna jump. I got a few more lightning rounds. Yep. So I got my next one is your favorite hobby for when you're free. What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh man, it's funny. It used to be basketball, and now it's golf. Golf is my number one hobby.
When did you start playing golf?
Man, I started playing golf. I started hitting the ball probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
I got to say, I probably started playing golf 7 years ago, where I started to I got a lesson. I wasn't just going to a golf scramble and just doing whatever. I literally went and got a lesson and wanted to understand the game.
Nice.
And that's changed my world. So yeah, I love golf would be number one. And then I guess my second other hobby, I say that I like to play poker. It's pretty neat. So
okay, nice. I only asked why when you started because I'm trying to make sure I'm not too late. Sound like I'm not too late, so I think I got time to jump in there and be okay.
Are you going from the golf?
I want to, but it's like
yeah.
I got to make some time for it to just do it.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? I tell everybody, go get a lesson. Literally, go to your Dick's Sports or whatever, or Golf Tech, something like that. Ask somebody you'll ask for a lesson, a 1 hour lesson.
Yeah.
Go in and just understand the game. So then when you go to do something with it or you're swinging, you know what you're doing. It's like playing basketball. Would you just go play basketball and not know the game or understand, man, to make my jumper better, I got to get my wrist, you know what I mean?
Right.
Most of us, although we grew up in the hood playing the game, it's a difference when you really want to play the game and understand what you want to do to be better for yourself. And what I like about golf is a sport that it's not about anybody else. It's about yourself. Mm-hmm. It teaches you so much psychologically that has nothing to do. Like if I go out to play you, I'm not playing you. I'm playing myself. Mm-hmm. I'm playing against this course. And I got to figure out how my breathing, my swinging, all these things with tempo, that's me. And guess who only controls me? Me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I like about the golf game is it's, as much as you go out there with a lot of people, it ain't about nobody else. When Tiger Woods goes out to play, Tiger ain't worried about other people. Tiger's worried about him. What he worked on this week. What his putting. Was it, man, he did well with his 56-degree wedge. Man, you know what? I want to turn the ball a little bit more. I worked on that this week. It should work here. It's like in the cleaning game. Man, I pitch these questions or I go and knock on this door. I understand how to build a building. When I walk into this building, I know at 50,000 square feet, we should do X amount of money. I know we should do it. Why aren't we doing it? Golf is that same way. You want to get it from where it's like out here, and eventually you start to figure out how to have less misses.
Gotcha. I love that too, because that applies to a lot of things, not just golf, when it's really more just really about you versus the outside things. I love that. All right. Favorite book?
Oh, man. Wow. So so here's the funny thing. I'm not a big book reader. That's something I love to tell myself I would get better at. I like reading business articles or quick mostly business reads. I'm not a fiction person. I don't do none of that. But I would say the one book, I'll give you two, because these are definitely two books that I read all the way through.
Okay.
So the first book to me was Steve Harvey's Jump.
Yes.
That book was instrumental in many ways. The second book I literally just got done 2 weeks ago, was called The Change Agent by John Lowry. And John Lowry was one of the leaders in the minority supplier division space. And I saw him at a conference and I got his book. And then there's other things. You can go through all the Quick and Grow Rich, all those other things. But I was thinking about there's what gets you here won't get you there. It's another good. Oh man, I haven't read the full book, but I'm in the middle of it. Man, hold on. There's one more. Oh God, okay. I gotta get this one because I just thought about this. Hold on.
Okay.
This was a book that when I read. I'm going to my iBooks because that's how much I don't read like that. But I got
that's where all mine are, right? And they usually audio books too for me.
So the book, this was a good one. It's called Creating a Competitive Advantage by Janie Smith.
Okay.
Creating competitive advantage. Man, and that was a kind of a nice, quick read business book. But that was also something that gave you an opportunity to look at your company of how to compete and what's your competitive advantage.
Gotcha.
Anyway, that was a lot of stuff down there.
You good, you good. All right. What else we got? All right. Best decision you ever made in business?
Oh man.
Just got to pick one. I know there's a lot of pivots on the way.
I think the best business decision I made in business. Wow. I think the biggest thing was just to go. Just do. It sounds like it's nothing, but so many of us get stuck and we don't do.
Yeah.
Just do. And I'm somebody who, if you ask me, man, did you write a business plan? AJ, I've never written a business plan.
Right.
Now, where we are now to where we have to get to, it's all changing because I need a strategic plan.
Yeah.
But when you start out, there's so many people who think they got to have every I and T, every I dotted and T. And then it's either analysis by paralysis and we don't do anything.
Yeah.
I've just been someone that just went. I tried it. I failed. I tried. I failed. I'm glad that my failures weren't expensive failures. But if I did not try, I wouldn't be here. So I'm just telling everyone to just do.
Yeah.
Go do. The rest will come. You can, if you do, you can hire people to get better at numbers. You can hire somebody to get better at operate. You can hire people. But if you don't do, you can't do anything.
Absolutely. So the last lightning round question I always like to ask people is your top 5 rappers all time.
Oh, this is a good one. So I'm always going to start, man. Biggie was he's my guy.
Okay.
So go with the Biggie. Come with Jay. Love Jay-Z big time. Man, my man Rakim.
Yeah.
Rakim was just he come with it.
The God MC.
Man, Tupac is in there. And then my last one, which I've always just I've gone around with. But this was a guy that I just felt more of the knowledge-based stuff was KRS-One. So he would just always give, those. And I'm telling you, there's so many more you can probably fit into that, but those are my 5.
Yeah. And I love those 5, man. KRS, I was, he's a little bit before my time, but he was one of the ones that I was able to know about just because of the way he delivered. I knew off top, even at a young age, if you wanted the battle, that ain't the one you want to go against. That's what I did, though.
There's so there's so many to add to that, but
yeah,
that's always a good question, a good debate in the barbershop.
Absolutely. All right, man. So we'll jump back into these regular questions, and I got a couple more for you, then we'll wrap it up.
That's fine.
All right, cool. So now one thing I noticed when I checked your LinkedIn profile is that you serve, well, actually, I'll skip that one since you talked about it a little bit earlier. What else we got? I got the BSCAI. I got this one. All right. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? And I'm also like a recovering conspiracy theorist. So I kind of like fake still believe in Illuminati, but I don't. And so I'm listening to this one podcast. Matter of fact, I remember the name of the podcast. It's called My First Million. And they mentioned these little like secret business groups, so to speak. And I don't know if they really secret, but I guess they just don't advertise them very well. But anyway, and they mentioned groups like Tiger 21, YPO, Vistage. And come to find out, as we were talking, you mentioned to me that you were actually a member of Vistage. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I guess, how did you even like get into a group like that? What is a group like that? Who is it for? What's going on with that?
So funny. So I didn't even know anything about this Tiger 21 until you had said something about it. And I had to go look for myself to see who they were. I think conspiracy theories, I don't know. Do we all know that the world is ran by the 1% of people? Of course, because I hate to say it, the 1% has more money than everybody else combined. So I think what I have learned about groups, and I'm using certain bit like this. I would say this business group, Vistage, that I'm a part of. It's a CEO group. How I was asked about being a part of it is we had to qualify. So the group I had to be in, you had to be north of $1 million of revenue, and then within Vistage they have different kind of categories, and it's really based on revenues. Like once you get to another revenue, you'll be in a whole different group because what you may learn in this group may not be applicable anymore because the issues that are here at this next level are different. Vistage has been very great for me. We joined in 2019. And it basically puts you with a whole other, I have about 15 members in my group. We got everybody from IT to audio, video, visual companies to, we got companies that deal with internet finance and things like that. But those groups are helpful because we get every second Tuesday, we got 8 hours with the facilitator, our coach. Yeah. That we can look at our business, focus in on numbers. And then once time out of the year or year and some change, you get to be able to be the host where you present your business, you present your goals, your numbers, and people can dissect you to tell you, well, Jay, why'd you do this? Man, I don't know why I did it. And then they can give you advice and tips to help you not make mistakes or to grow your business or to help you in hiring the right people. So it's been an investment that I enjoy. It costs to be a part of most of these groups. But again, I go back to don't always focus on the cost. If someone told you, if you joined a group, I'm just using this for example. Let's just say a group cost you, I don't know, 15, 20 grand a year. Yeah. Which again, I'm not saying that's not little change, but I'm going to make this statement. If you could join a group for X amount of dollars, but your ROI would be, you would grow 500,000, $1 million. Is it worth it? And I think that's where most of us, and I go back to us, people in general, but especially us as Black folk, man, we don't understand that we got to get in a room of people who are better than us and competing differently than us so that we can infiltrate the system. We can be able to get in and understand, man, what am I doing? So I'm not going at this alone. What questions can I ask? What financial questions do I need to know? And it's like, man, it's like a pay to play. If I get in, I should grow. If I'm involved, I'm doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So I think most of us, I would say, take a look at those groups. But then some of these groups are just what they are. Like I looked at the Tiger 21. Man, that's an in group. To get in that group, you got to have $20 million of investable money. Mm-hmm. So again, it ain't saying you got to make 20 million in revenue. It says you need to have 20 million that you can invest. So you got to realize when you go in that room, that's a whole lot of A players. Yeah. But we just can't be scared to be in the A player room. We got to eventually, we got to figure out, man, if I can do X, I can get in this room. I can take this 20 and I can flip this to get to 100. Yeah. Okay, I'm in. We just got to realize that the game is different. And there's a lot of groups out there that you can get involved in. And I think you just got to figure out one that works for you and have, I feel, a coach or someone that's going to push you to greatness.
I love it, man.
Yeah, Mike didn't get there without Phil. Kobe didn't get there without Phil Jackson. You know what I mean? There was somebody who had to push them to get to where they are.
Yeah, and be clear, Phil Jackson was a better player than Mike or Kobe either, but he was able to coach him though. So just something to throw out there.
Come on, yo, boy, you're talking about it. You're talking about it.
All right.
He knew where to push. He knew when to be soft. He knew when he had to come. You know what I mean? That is a personal coach is you want somebody that's going to make you better, and not somebody's going to say yes. Yeah.
And because I wanted to throw that out there too, so people can understand. And you touched on it earlier about why you respected me, because that's another thing where it's like, well, why would I join Clean Biz Network, AJ? And your cleaning company makes this, or you sold it at this amount, and it's like, well, look at all the people I've coached to hundreds of thousands or even millions. You know what I mean? So I might be Phil Jackson, I might not be Michael Jordan. I don't know, right. But anyway, so
right, that's it.
All right, appreciate that though. Okay, now. One thing I want to point out though, the turning point mentally, like, is there any one thing you can look back on and really understand, like, damn, I was going down the wrong path here. I was trying to hustle on the street when I should be hustling in business, so to speak. So like, was there anything in particular that was that turning point for you to kind of wake up and choose a different path?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you two pieces. I'm going to kind of give you that back then. I can also give you now.
Yeah.
Back then, it was one of those things where when I was out there hustling, man, I was brought up enough to know right from wrong.
Yeah.
But I was also brought up to understand, man, this isn't the right path per se.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I say that. That's important. I didn't have I had a 2-parent household. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I saw around me was I saw a lot of people that just became a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm hustling. And it's like, man, okay, but what are you doing? Man, there was only certain couple guys that was getting money. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but again, it goes back to the broad amount of us. We trying to get it, but it's not sustainable.
Thank you for watching my video, and make sure you hit that like button if you liked the video, because I know you did, and also hit subscribe, and right beside that subscribe button is going to be a notification bell. You gotta click that, because guess what? You never know when I'm gonna go live. As a matter of fact, I might go live right now, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss my videos, all right? And if you want to start or grow your business, check out cleanbiznetwork.com, all right? We have cleaning business starter kits. We have a lead generation service to help you grow your cleaning business, all type of stuff. And also, don't forget to download the Calculated Clean mobile app as well, all right? So that's what I got for y'all until you click another video and go watch, man. Watch another video, why not? Binge on it, let's go.